I was recently in a meeting, and one of the things that came out of the meeting was people said, "Oh, well, the students are still struggling with some of the basics." And I was thinking about it, and I was wondering why. And here's what I realized: there was a little bit of confusion about addition and multiplication and using variables. So here's what I realized. I think part of the problem is if you have something like 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, your answer is 12. But what? Oh my goodness me. But that's not really what I'm after. I don't actually care about the answer itself. I do care about this though. 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 literally means 4 threes, which is multiplication, because multiplication is really repeated addition. So the way we can simplify addition is by putting a number, the number of threes, in front of the 3, like I did. I said I have 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, which gives me 4 threes. That 4 describes how many groups of threes I have, and this is called the coefficient. And the coefficient describes, it's a number, describes how many groups we have. And in this case, it is 4. We had 4 threes. So 4 is my coefficient, and 3 is what we're adding over and over and over again. So now, if we look at multiplication, we have 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. And this is repeated multiplication. So like repeated addition, I put the 4 in the front, and that's my coefficient. But here we have something a little bit different. I have 1 3 multiplied with another 3, multiplied with another 3, multiplied with another 3. And so what happens is I actually count how many 3s I'm multiplying together. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so I get 3 to the 4th. So coefficient was used when I'm adding. But these two terms I'm going to use when I'm multiplying. The 3 is my base, and that tells me what my number is. And the 4 is my exponent. And this tells me how many times I'm multiplying the 4 by. Now, we're going to introduce one more term, and that term is a variable. Variables are unknown quantities, or they could be known quantities, but they can also change. So I'm going to explain in a second. So let's say I had something like this. X plus X plus X plus X. How many groups of X's am I adding? Well, I'm adding 4 of them. So my coefficient is 4 because I'm adding 4 of them together, and my variable is X because, like I said, X could be any number. If X was 3, like in above, then what I would have is 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is 4 times 3, which is 12. But if X was 5, I would have this, 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, which is, I still have 4 of them. I have 4 groups of 5. So it would be 20. And that could really be any number, including negatives. If I had 4 groups of -1, well, -1 plus -1 plus -1 plus -1 is -4. So that's how the variable works for repeated addition, which ends up being multiplication. But now let's take a look at when X is being multiplied together. I have X times X times X times X. Well, each one of these has a little exponent of 1. X is my base, and it's X to the 4th. X1, X2, X3, X4. I'm multiplying X by itself 4 times. Now, once again, if I had, let's say X was 3. 3 times 3 times 3 times 3. My base is 3. So I'd write down my base, as I did up there. Well, you know what? My base is 3, and my exponent is 4. On your calculator, you can just type in 3 to the 4th, And you would get 81, because 3 times 3 is 9, times 3 is 27, times 3 is 81. Or, really, you could say 3 times 3 is 9, and 3 times 3 is 9, and then 9 times 9 is 81. And once again, that works for other numbers too. If it was 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, we get 5 to the 4th, which happens to be 625. A quick note, the story doesn't end there. We can actually do something else. I'm going to do two quick examples. Let's say you could also have something like 3x plus 2x plus 1x, and this would be, well, let's see, my coefficient here is 3, 2, and although there's nothing written here, it's actually 1 understood. So that would be 3, 5, that would be 6 x's. Because you're just counting how many x's do you have. This is repeated addition. X plus x is 3x plus x, and that is my 2x, plus 1x equals 3, 5, oops, that's my 1x, and that equals 6x. And then my very last one, oh no, that's not true. I'm going to have to do 2 here. If I had something like x cubed times x squared times x, once again, this is really x times x times x times x times x times x. So if I count them, I have 3, x to the first, x to the second, x to the third, x to the fourth, x to the fifth, x to the sixth. Because really, I can count them up. Now, I'm going to do one last one which kind of molds both of them together. What if I had 3x squared, actually I'm going to do 2, plus 2x squared. Well, here, what do we actually have? I have repeated addition, x squared plus x squared plus x squared. Here I have addition. So this is my 3x squared. Here's my plus, just like here. And then I have x squared plus x squared. So how many x squares do I actually have? Well, you can count them. 3 plus 2 is I have 5x squared. Alright, now I'm going to do the same question, except instead of doing that, I have 3x squared times 2x squared. Well, the nice thing about multiplication is everything looks like I'm sorry, it's supposed to be 3x cubed. Why did I do that? Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry, I was wrong. So now I'm going to do another one, and maybe here I'll make it x cubed. No, I'll leave it the way it is. So this really means 3 times x times 2 times x times x. And you can tell, because everything's just multiplication, because everything's multiplication, we can move stuff around. So I'm just going to swap those two, and I'm going to make this 3 times 2 times x times x times x times x. And I know that 3 times 2 is really 6. And how many times am I multiplying x with itself? 4 times. So it becomes 6x to the 4th. My coefficient is 6. My base is x, and my exponent is 4. I hope this helps. It would be useful to watch it a couple of times. I know it's kind of long, but that's kind of the story. Give it a go. Watch it, see what you can figure out, and that's all.